In this video, I want to talk about some of the object-based components and how to use them in our land. But before doing that, I want to go to my castle and have a rest until the midnight. Back again in the midnight near the mysterious cemetery, one of the games I have created in my land with the Metaverser Game Maker. I should mention that Metaverser Game Maker has a lot of events that you can manage on to create awesome games, and this is one of the games that you can create with the Game Maker. So before I start to talk about some of the object-based components, I want to play the game one time and you can see how the events work in relating to each other in the game. So let us start the game and play. When I enter the game, you can see I have some pumpkins in here that wherever I go, they rotating and looking at me. And also we have some characters in here and some ghosts going up and down. And also we have a mission that tells me to find a key and open the door and check in. Here we have a door, and also we have a grave with a seal around that I should break the seal during the game to access that grave. And here is a pot, and you can see I have the effect of bubbles coming out from the pot, and also the fire down the pot. And also in here there is a door that if I click on the door, there is a dialog box that says opening the door enables a curse. If you want, you need a key. And because I don't have a key, I cannot open the door. So if I click on the don't have key, I cannot open this door. So I should find a key in my land. And because I know where I have put the key, I will go to find the key, and let's get the key in here by clicking on that. And now if I come back in here and click on the door, you can see I have another option added to this dialog box called the use key. And if I click on the use key, you can see now the door is open. And if I go down in here again, I have a note in there, and if I click on the note says that you activated the curse. You should find 4 skulls in land in 120 seconds and use them in the pot. Avoid ghosts following you because they waste your time 5 seconds in each hit. So let's start finding, and if you look at that, I have a time counter, and also my characters start to dance and they block my way. And if you look at that, if I hit the ghost, it starts to decrease my time 5 seconds each time I hit the ghost. So I should find the skulls in here. One is in here, and the other one, oh, the characters block my way so that the ghosts reach me more easier and decreases my time. Another skull, and another skull is on the roof, and for going up the roof I need this plank. And if I click on the plank, now I have it and I can go up the roof, and yet the ghost is following me. It wants to damage myself. And if I click to find the 4th skull, you can see the ghost is no more dangerous to me, and it doesn't hurt me, and you can see it doesn't follow me anymore. So let's go back, and also my character changed their dancing, and let's have a dance with them. Alright, it's beautiful. Okay, let's go to the other part. I should put the skulls to this pot. So when I click on the pot in here, I have my skull in the pot, and the other part of the challenge is begun. Now I should stay alive in this time, and in this part all the characters hurt me by hitting on them. And also I cannot go further. You can see I cannot go more, and the ghost following me. There is a moving portal in here, and I have some health that if this health becomes 0, I will lose the game. And I think I will lose. Yes, I lost. And if you look at that, when you lose the game starts to reset, and by resetting the game you should play the game from the start until you manage to finish the game and get your reward. Alright, this is the game we have created with Game Maker. It's a very awesome and also amazing game, and I don't want to play it again, and I think you have seen the things you should know. Now it's time to talk about some of the object-based components in the component list. But before doing that, I want to go to the land once more, and I want to check something in here. For example, the ghost. If you look at that, when I hit the ghost, I can pass through the ghost, unlike the other objects in the scene that I cannot pass through them, and they are very solid to me. And the other thing I want to show you is this seal in here. When I hit the seal, I cannot go through that, I cannot access the grave in here, and it's like a hidden wall blocking my way to the grave. And I want to show you how to create these effects in your land. But before I want to start with the ghost, and then let's create some effect like a hidden wall. So let's go to the M builder to create the effect of the ghost. For creating the effect of the ghost, you should create an object in the scene, and all the objects you create in the scene by default have activated collision. That means all the objects by default are solid, and when you hit them, all the objects, when you hit them, you cannot pass through them, unlike the ghost in the scene as you saw. So I start my work with creating a ghost in the scene by going to the game starter and going to the hollow, and let's create a ghost object in the scene again, and let's change its color and also its position. For example, I put it in here and change the color from the material to something like green, and let's save the work and exit and check the result. If you look at that, if I hit the green ghost in here, I cannot pass through that. Because as I told you before, all the objects by default when I put in my scene has activated collision and are solid. So for controlling the collision of this object, I should select that object, and from the components in the properties, I will go to the add components, and from the object, I will add the collision components to my list. And when I open the collision, you can see the collision of this object is enabled, and it has an active collision. And when I clicked on the collision to make it disable, now I have the effect like the other ghosts in my scene, and I can pass through this object. So let me show you. Okay, everything works fine. And let's talk about creating an invisible wall. I don't need this ghost anymore. I will go to the office starter and create a wall in my scene, and put it in here and rotate the wall. And I want this wall blocks my way, but I don't want to see the wall in the scene. Like an invisible wall that is blocking the way. For creating this effect, I should control the visibility of this object, and for doing that, I will go to the add components again, and from the object list, I will select the visibility from the list, and now I can control the visibility of this object. And if you look at that, by default, the object has enabled visibility, that when I make it disabled, I cannot see the object in my scene, but I have all the effect of that object, for example, the collision of that object. And if I had other components in my list, I had all the effect of those components in the scene. And the only thing I don't have in the scene is the visibility of this object. Let me show you. If I go through the path, something blocks my way that I cannot see that, and that's how making an object invisible works. So the other thing I want to talk about is making an object active and deactive. Let me show you an example in the scene. Here I have a key in here. If I clicked on the key, I don't have the key anymore, and also I don't have the effect of the key in this place. And that is how making an object active and deactive. Unlike the visibility that makes the object invisible in the scene, but you have all the effects of that object in the scene, when you make an object deactive in the scene, all the effects of that object will be deactivated too, and it's like you don't have that object in the scene. So let me show you the example. Let's go to the land builder and select the invisible wall in the scene. The easiest way to select that is through the hierarchy, and let's go to the properties and make that object visible again. I don't want the visibility anymore because I talked about that. And in this time I will go to the add components, and from the objects I will add activation to the component of this object. And if you look at that, all the objects you create in the scene has enabled activation by default. And if you want to make your object deactive, you should make it disable. So by making this object disable, all the effect of this object will be disable too. That means you don't have any collision with that object, and if you had any other components in the list, all the components will be deactivated too. And the only way to selecting and deactivated objects from the scene is the hierarchy. When you make an object invisible, when you drag in the scene, you can select that object. But when you make an object deactivate in the scene, you cannot select that object by dragging. And the only way is through the hierarchy in here. And if I show you the example, this is the object I have deactivated. And if you look at that, the checkbox in here is disabled. And you can control the activation with this checkbox. But I suggest you and I recommend you to always use the properties in here, because you will have the better control of your objects in the properties and components. Now let me show you how the object works when I make it deactive. If I go through the path, nothing blocks my way. I have the wall in here, but the wall doesn't have any effect in the scene because I have made that wall deactivated in the scene. Unlike the visibility, that I cannot see that object, but I have the effect of that object. When you make an object deactive, I cannot have any effect of that object in the scene, and it looks like that there is nothing in the scene. Alright? And that's how activation works. And if you want to select that object again and make it active, you should do that through the hierarchy. You should go and find the object and go to the properties again and make it active again. And that is how activation. And I think it's enough for this lesson, and in the next lesson we will talk about the other components. So have a practice until the next lesson.